Hey guys, welcome to this new episode. I'm Umberus and I'll be talking about my latest development for this week on my dice throwing app and my general experience in game development. So today I thought I'd explain a little bit about the three phases that you go through when you're developing some software or game development or anything really. It seems obvious, but a lot of people I think don't really realize how important it is to know in which phases you are of this development cycle. No, I'm not talking about waterfall or requirement or stuff like that. I'm talking about very simple 3 steps development process: beginning, middle, and end. Yeah, that sounds really easy, but it's actually really important. The beginning is when you start the project and you're super motivated. You've probably been thinking about this thing for like months or weeks or years before, so you know exactly where you're going. You think you've got everything planned, you think nothing can go wrong, you've already planned everything, and really in general it's optimism, You're optimistic about the outlook of the project. Of course, you're just starting. And as you start the project, depending on the size of the project, it can last a few days, a few months, a few weeks, a few years, if it's a really big project with a lot of team people. And these 3 phases are not black and white. There's some gray area. You're going to be transitioning towards the next step slowly. You'll be doing a little bit of the optimist side and a little bit of the second phase at the same time. But really, you have to realize when you're working on something if it's something to do with the beginning, the middle, or the end, because it'll change the way you look at things. For example, when you're starting, you're really optimistic, you're really motivated, and you're working on features that you think is the most important and the more fun to do. But when you reach the middle, actually, is usually when you've already done all the features you were thinking to do at the beginning. And now you're not quite yet in the debugging phase or the release part. That's in the end. In the middle part is what I like to call the desert of uncertainty. It's a desert because you can see the whole thing you made at the beginning, and you can see hills, and you can see the features that you have to work on, but you're kind of lost. You don't know where to start, you don't know where to go. There's all these things that you've put you've put back for later when you were doing the beginning because you were having fun and developing features, and now you have to come back to these things and really polish them. You have to fix a lot of issues. For example, if you're working on a camera, at the beginning you'll make this camera system, you've been thinking about it, you know it's really cool, and you're sure it's going to be perfect. Okay, so you implement that at the beginning, and you leave it on the side, you go implement other stuff, and then you have to come back to it, because now you have some other stuff to add to it. You need to transition to cutscenes, you need to, fix some small issues. Your character was working really well, but now in this special scene you're working on, for some reason the camera fucks up and you don't know why. And you have to go back to your camera system that was so perfect when you started, and now you don't understand, you don't know why it's working, and when you try to fix it, then something else breaks, and it's just you end up spending so much time fixing some small issues like that, and it's like that all over your project. When you're in the middle part of the project, everything is like that. It's always these kind of small issues popping up, and it's not bugs, it's not stuff in the bug base yet. It's you're trying to implement a new feature, but this new feature causes other issues to creep up everywhere in your system, and this can be really disheartening. It can be really hard for your motivation and your morale, and I would say that a lot of beginning developer, especially people working at home, that's usually where they give up. That's where your prototype stops and it just becomes a dead project, because you don't have the motivation and the strength to keep drudging through this desert of features and problems and issues, and that's where you start doubting yourself also. You'll be this AI system was so great at the beginning, but now that I have a dozen AI working inside my level, they're doing some weird stuff, and I can't fix it because it might design decision was bad, or maybe it's because of issues in the code. I'm not quite sure. Should I redo it? And you're starting to think maybe, you know, the design you had in head at the beginning is not so great anymore. And all these kind of issues creep up in the middle. And then you reach the end, and you've gone through the desert, and then you arrive in this like oasis of like final product. And now you have to, you get into what people usually call QA, right? Quality assurance. You're like just installing the software on the most device you can, you're testing stuff, you're patching a few bugs, you're you know, linking the last few things together, you're contacting your marketing, I don't know, doing all the last minute preparation, and you know, the PR, the relation, the you know, the rush for the release. And this is another part, because you'll notice at that point you're starting to see the end of the tunnel. You're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're getting motivated again. You have hope for your project. You can see it coming to life and finally reaching the complete state you want it to be in when you release. And it's important to understand that, like, if you're working on a project like that with a lot of people, then not everyone is going to reach all of these phases at the same time. So you might have some people that are completely lost hope and are completely in the despair pit of the middle project, while there's still some people somewhere else on the project that are developing their most the feature they like the most, and they're still in the beginning phase of the project. And it can create clashes, because you're gonna have some people like pissed off at you and despair, and they want to talk about their project, and you're like, just like, keep going, it's so nice, this is gonna be awesome. And you have to like handle these kind of differences between the people in your project. And even if you're like a single developer, like right now, I think I've implemented most of the features I have to implement for my project, and I am right now in the middle ground. Like, I'm playing around and I'm seeing like, oh yeah, this I thought was going to work well, or this I thought was going to be easy to implement, but yeah, it turns out it's not so simple, and I'm having some issues that I didn't think I would have. I've been fighting with the option page. I thought that would be something really quick to do, but since I hadn't done much design of the structure of the code, and I'm still unfamiliar with Framework 7, turns out that some of the options I thought would be really easy are not that much easy in the end. And there's a whole bunch of things like that makes me feel like I'm in the middle of the project. But since I'm still motivated, because this is my big debut as an indie game developer or indie app developer, I'm trudging on, and I don't mind so much. But you know, there's some stuff I'm like, really, I don't want to work on that, but I have no one else to do it, and I know it needs to be done before a release, so I just add it to my to-do, and I know I'll have to go through it. And that's where also the to-do is really helpful, because if it's in the to-do, I have to do it. So like, I don't care that I don't want to do it, it's there, so like, I might as well tackle it, right? And if I have other stuff, maybe I'll do other stuff, because I really don't want to do this right now. But at some point the to-do is going to shrink, and it's going to be only this thing I don't want to do, and I'll just have to do it. And it's really helpful, because otherwise it'd be easy to forget about it, because, you know, I don't want to do it, so I'll just put it somewhere I don't think about it, and I'll forget about it. But, you know, it's important to work on it. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit what I've been doing this week on the app. Since I'm kind of in the middle of the project right now, if you look at my to-do list, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of little things that need fixing, that need rework, some features that maybe don't seem so important, but I still want to try to get it done before I release. I started working on a bunch of stuff that had questions mark on it, because I wasn't sure how to do it, but now I have no choice. I'm spending the time to look on the internet on how's the best way to do it. I try to figure out stuff. It's moving so slowly right now because of all that. Since I wasn't sure where I was going, like, you know, I said this middle part is where you're kind of getting lost in your project. So I hold on into the only thing I knew I needed to do, and that was release on the App Store and Google. So when I wasn't sure what to work on, or I didn't know what I needed to work on the most, I decided to go on Google, and I logged into the Play Store as a developer, and I looked at what I needed to do to be able to release my game. And as you can see, when you're logging in for the first time with a Gmail account, it's gonna offer you, it's gonna ask you to accept the developer agreement, and it's gonna tell you to pay a $25 fee. This $25 fee is a one-time deal. It's not much compared to some other platform. Google says it's just to prevent people from spamming the registration button. Once you've put in your credit card information and you've actually completed the billing, so once you've completed this step, you'll be redirected to the Google Play console, where you can set up your merchant's account, your developer profile, and all this kind of stuff. I had some hesitation about what I need to put into the developer profile is okay, but the business profile is I wasn't sure. They're asking for your business name and stuff like that. From what I understood, it doesn't really matter. It's just the front facing. It's what people are going to see when they purchase your app on their credit card statement or on the Google Play page. You can always change it later. It's not something binding. The developer profile seems to be more important. I don't have a website for now, so I had to leave this field empty. Hopefully it's optional, but I probably should get a website too. So that was added to my to-do list to figure out a way to add a cheap website to present myself and my apps. And once you've completed all these things, you're going to be at the Google console main screen, and then you need to set up a merchant account. It's not required if you're releasing a free app, but if you want to release a paid app or you have to have in-game purchase, you need to set up your merchant account with your business information, and you have to link some kind of bank account if you want to get paid. Actually, linking your bank account was pretty easy. You just put in your information from your bank, and Google will deposit some small amount of money, and after that you have to tell Google how much money was deposited, and then your bank account is validated, and you can use it to you have in-app purchase or a paid app. So the next step I did was looking up information on what you need to do to release your app. I created a page with all the links that I found useful to visit them again later if I need to. A lot of talk about how to sign your application, how to make your release APK in Cordova, what kind of stuff you need to do for translation, for icons, for launcher icon, for all these kind of things. So I actually started to do that also. I started doing some development of my icon for my banner, for the screenshots for my app, since the look and feel is probably getting close to the final product. And I still need a few things, like while I was playing in the console, I noticed that it's kind of important to have different translation if you're planning to release worldwide. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that, but I thought I'd look into it. So recently I've been working a little bit on the translation and this kind of stuff. And so that's pretty much what I've been working on this week. I'm going to talk to you more next week about where I'm at, how the translation went. Maybe I'll show you a bit the icons I've been working on, the launcher, probably show you the final product and the few retooling, redesign I did on the app itself. So see you around for next week. If you like what you saw, just hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. See you guys next week.